and welcome to Cars Yeah, show number 2548. Be prepared to be inspired.
This is Cars Yeah, where you'll enjoy interviews with inspiring automotive enthusiasts. I'm founder Mark Green, and I've handed the keys to this car over to Ginger Baker Rust, who's a lifelong enthusiast. Ginger's here to provide you with a fuel injection of automotive inspiration. So get in, sit down, and buckle up and get ready for a fun ride here on Cars Yeah.
Hello, inspiring automotive enthusiasts, and welcome to Cars Yeah. Today, we are coming to you from the beautiful city of North Bergen, New Jersey, with a legendary Concours Judge and automotive photographer whose name is Alexander Soultanis. Hello, Alexander. Welcome to Cars Yeah. Do you have it in gear, and are you ready to release the clutch?
Double clutch with no synchros, baby. Let's go.
There you go. Alexander, please share something about yourself that most people may not know.
So you mean besides that serial killer thing?
Yeah, that.
Okay.
We'll talk about that today.
Yeah,
another show.
Well, I never shared this before, but I'm dyslexic.
Really?
Yeah, and I always struggled reading as a kid, but anything I was passionate about, like cars, like car magazines, I always pushed myself through it. Yeah, I always kind of beat myself up that I couldn't do as well as other kids with reading wise, but when it came down to actually doing anything physically and learning things visually, I was right on it. I could do really, really well. And now I find that like half of the Shark Tank and group is dyslexic, and so many musicians have that as well. So it's good to know that you can still keep doing things, and it's not like a disability in a way. You could really there could be something really great about it too.
Oh, absolutely. So did you find that, like, when you were young, your passion for cars, I know we'll talk about that here in a little bit, but your passion for cars and reading car magazines, was that something that kind of helped you along?
Well, I was always very passionate about anything I did, anything. I had to be very passionate about it, or I just would check out. I just couldn't really be bothered with it. The oldest memory I have is playing with a toy car on the beach at Lake George. I would think I was 3 years old. The other thing I remember as well is the New York World's Fair. And the New York World's Fair in 1964, the things I remember most about it is anything car related. There was something about cars that just clicked with me as a little kid, and it never stopped.
Alexander Soultanis is a very well-known Concours judge and automotive photographer who recently had the grand privilege of one of his prized possessions, a 1944 KDF Wagon, featured on the cover of the legendary Crankshaft, which relegated into receiving numerous phone calls from Jay Leno, which I had the privilege of just receiving a personally signed copy. Alexander is a Concours judge and former automotive history radio show host from the New York City area. Most recently, he has served as an AACA judge for 19 years and a Concours judge for 5 years, including the Amelia Island Concours, Radnor Hunt Concours, Greenwich Concours, Palisades Concours, Keeneland Concours, and many others. Alexander is a retired sign painter for the city of New York and artist who, if you've watched the Macy's Day Parade, Alexander created and painted the Macy's Day Parade star logo you see painted on the street every year. He's been a certified car geek since the age of 4 and a member of many car clubs. Alexander has been married 25 years to Barbara Henry Soultanis, who is not a car person, but is incredibly supportive of Alexander's crazy hobby. He cannot wait until his wife retires so they can travel around the country together. Let's take a little deeper dive, Alexander. Share with us a little bit about your journey into the automotive world and about automotive photography, and then being a radio host, your early years.
Well, like I said, I've always been passionate about anything I ever did. And I'm an artist, so I have that artist eye. Artists just see everything differently. And I could just see beauty in things that maybe other people don't. And it's funny because my father was loved photography and was a photographer. And I never wanted to do have anything to do with it, because the ideas of making all the changes and setting up a camera was not interesting to me. I loved what the photo, the result, but I just had no patience for the photography. And I really respect people out there that do the old school photography. I mean, I respect them like nobody's business, because it was difficult to do, especially these like racing photos and stuff. Just amazing. But as a kid, I was always doing artwork. I got that from my mother. I would always do. Always did a lot of car drawings and stuff, doing flames on 32 Ford and drawings and stuff. A lot of nature photos too. I was interested in Autobahn magazine that my father got, and the birds. I thought I might want to be an Autobahn artist one day as a kid, but everything just kept going back to cars. Today, it's still cars. I love judging. It's one of the things I'm just really, really passionate about, helping automotive collectors make their cars better. It's just a funny thing when it comes to judging. I mean, nobody wants to be judged, right? I mean,
Right.
but they're putting their heart and soul into something, and then they're presenting this to you, and it's really nerve-wracking, and you're going to sit there with your clipboard and go over everything. I just love making them feel comfortable, know that they're appreciated, that they are we really love the fact that they're here, that they've got a beautiful car, and that we're going to help them make their car better if there's anything that needs correcting on it. And they're usually always super appreciative of that, and we always relax them, and we do our job. We take it seriously, and it's just a super passion of mine. It's just what I absolutely love to do.
Let's talk a little bit about Crankshaft. In this photograph here, that you're on the cover of this like iconic Crankshaft is iconic. Tell me the story about how all this came about, that you're featured on the cover and then getting phone calls from Jay Leno. I mean, tell me that whole story, how that whole thing came about.
Yeah, I mean, it's a long story because this car goes back 22 years and I've been restoring this car. It was the first one in the United States when it came here, it was stripped, it needed everything. It had bullet holes in it and shrapnel damage from World War II. It was found abandoned in Krakow, Poland. All these people gave up on it in Europe. And then I sit there and go, yeah, I can do it. I can restore it. And yeah, I can do better than these guys. I mean, it was ridiculous. I don't know what I was thinking. I just understood the car. And I said, no, I'm going to do it. I made that promise to that owner that if I take this on, I'm going to do it. And it arrived here in 2002, October 10th. I searched the world over, 10 different countries. It took me to find everything that I needed. Even the bolts were different. I mean, in Czechoslovakia, I'm writing letters to and trying to translate things in different languages that there's no Google Translate. I mean, it's a really, really crazy story. Anything that I couldn't find, we had made. So that also involved a whole slew of different countries. They had to get the blueprints. They had to find an original part. They had to make it. I mean, it took 3 years to make the upholstery for it. So it's a massive journey, and I met Richard Lentinello, who was at that time with Hemmings. He was Hemmings. All of Hemmings, all the different magazines that came out of Hemmings, Hemmings Classic Cars, Hemmings Muscle Machines, all that. That was him. So I really respected that guy. I see him walking down in Hershey, and we're walking down, and I says, "You're Richard Lentinello, aren't you?" He goes, "Yes." So I tell him who I am, and I says, "I got this 1944 Volkswagen Beetle I'm restoring." He's like, "Really?" I didn't know if he thought I was a nut or what, because I wouldn't let him alone. We start walking down the swap meet paths, and and we just kept walking, and I just kept talking, and he was getting it. He was getting what I was doing. So many of my friends just said, "You're crazy. I don't know what you're doing. Why are you trying to do this?" He got it right away. And he turns to me and says, "Do me a favor. Let the first guy to write the article on it. Promise me I'm going to do the article on it." So the light bulb went off. He got it. And I said, "Okay, I'll make it that promise." That was about 12 years ago. And I didn't even realize this could take this much longer to do. So we kept that promise. And the whole thing with Hemmings changed. It wasn't a good fit for him anymore because he wanted to do old stuff. They wanted to do new stuff. They weren't listening anymore. And so I see him in a hotel at a car show, and he comes to me and he says, they let me go. And I said, okay, great. And he goes, what do you mean? I go, this is great. This is great news. You always wanted your own magazine, right? Your own book. Yeah. I said, well, think about it. All the practice that you've done all these years on these books and magazines, you know what the car people like, you know what they don't like, you know what works, you know what doesn't work. I mean, what a wonderful thing. You've done this on these people's dimes all these years. Now you're a seasoned professional really at this, and you can go and you don't have to experiment. You can do this on your own now.
Yeah, he's free to do whatever he wants to. Yeah.
Exactly. You can make it, right, you're it. You're the guy. So he says, well, that's what my wife says. And I said, listen to your wife. She's a smart person. Laurie's great. So that's what he did. And, he was struggling with it because he felt bad. When you have your heart and soul into something and people don't get what you're doing, it's hard. And so he came up with this Crankshaft book. He knew what to do because he was that seasoned athlete ready to go to battle and make this wonderful thing. He knew what he wanted from the beginning, and he did it. And it is literally the best kept secret in automotive journalism, in my opinion. I mean, a lot of the big judges get this because it's so factually looked through, research and everything. There is so much wrong stuff in books and magazines that people just reprint, and we don't even know it. I mean, I've got caught up in it. I've got caught up repeating something that I thought I learned, and guess what? It was wrong information. Right. And so Richard, what he does with Crankshaft, he completely researches everything. So it's really like, the Automobile Quarterly. That's what everyone refers to it as. That's like the Automobile Quarterly of its time. So now we're going to do the article in here now instead of, whatever else what he was working for. So now Crankshaft comes and then he says, I'm at dinners with him at car shows and stuff. And he's here and goes, tell him about the KDF and what you're doing. And people are just like amazed. And Richard's like, you didn't tell me that. And I can't believe what you're doing. This is unbelievable. I'm not going to ever complain again about restoring a car. And the word inspiring kept coming up to when people were hearing about it. And, Richard says to me, I want to put it on the cover.
Oh, wow.
I was like, wow. I mean, for any kind of automotive car guy to have their car on a cover is just amazing. And then to have it on something as amazing as Crankshaft is just crazy. So we go to Hershey, we premiere the car. The day before, we do the photo shoot on it. And, it was like a dream. It was like a dream. The car was at the show. There was 1,100 cars there at the Hershey Fall Meet where it got premiered. We were surrounded by crowds of people, everybody that saw the show. It's the first time I didn't judge there in 19 years because I had my car there. And there was so many people around me, around the car, and I was just talking. It was just like, Ginger, but like how when you get into a zone on something and everything's like a fog, like a dream, that's how this was. And people said, I came up to you, I couldn't talk to you. There was 6 people deep around you. The other people said, that was great. I was so glad we were there and I got to talk to you. I don't remember talking to him. It was like a fog. It was amazing.
Yeah.
We got our first junior, which is what we were shooting for. Then we get a letter in the mail saying you're not nominated for a national award, which is through the whole country for any of all the nationals in the USA for the Antique Automobile Club, which is the world's largest automobile club. And by the way, everybody should be a member of that. We got a letter. We got nominated. Huge, huge honor. A month later, we got told we got the auto award. So we didn't know which one. It was amazing. So we got the W. Emmerich Swigert Cup, which is an award that's been given since 1950.
Oh, my goodness.
It's amazing. For the rare and unusual automobile shown at a national meet. And that's what, outstanding restoration of a rare and unusual automobile at a national meet. And that was the first time showing it. And my friend Philip Reutman, he got also a national award. He got nominated 4 times for this, once a year for 4 years. And he showed it at a ton of shows He goes, you don't understand. You showed this one time at one show and you got that. You got to understand this. And I was like, yeah, really. Yeah, really. That's amazing. It's just amazing. And then so the magazine comes out. I'm at another show with Richard, and they just came out. The ink is still wet almost. I smell the ink in the boxes. And he hands me all the magazines. Now, my plan is I bought a ton of them because people have to hear the story. They can't just hear it from me. They got to read it and see the pictures in it. So one of the issues I send it to Jay Leno because he loves the magazine. He loves Crankshaft. It's his favorite book, and he has every issue. But he's not a subscriber to it. He loves going to Passner's Auto Books in California. It's the only store where it's sold. Everybody else got to buy it online. I know it didn't get there yet. And I know he loves it so much. So I sent him an issue, my car. Now, he's been following the car a little bit, and he knows it. He thinks it's really neat because I see him at shows. So he calls me. Alex, it's Jay Leno. Hey, I want to thank you for that. I don't got that issue. The Crankshaft's my favorite. So I'm like, oh, I know you don't. I said, pass. You get it at Passes. They don't have it yet, and I just got them in. Oh, that's great. I really appreciate that. I love this. So, and I know he did. So he says, do you have Richard Lentinello's phone number? I want to invite him to the Audrain Concours. And I'm like, sure. I said, I hope you get to see my car there because I put in for it. But it's a 1944, and besides the time I showed it at Hershey, it's the only time there are no 1944 cars. There's no 1944 passenger cars. I don't know where it would fit in a Concours. They'll say, oh, 44, 48, 49. I'll put in a good word for you. So I go, you're great. You're great. So he say, if I could ever do anything for you, invite us to the garage, the two of us, to see his stuff at the garage, which was awesome. Then he says, well, if I ever can do anything for you, let me know. And I was like, wow, this Jay Leno asking me if he could do anything for me. I mean, it's just unbelievable. And who am I, right?
Part of that fog, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and it was so nice of him. I mean, he didn't have to do that. And so I say, well, since you offered, I know you're a big Crankshaft fan. You think you could take a photo of it, holding and do a thumbs up, holding up the magazine? I'm not asking you to do anything you don't like. I wouldn't do that. He goes, sure, I'll do that right now. So we exchange emails, and then I call, and then he hangs up. I call my wife. I says, Jay Leno just called me. She goes, what? No. That was really funny. So I'm talking to her as I'm driving. This is all happening while I'm driving, of course. And Jay Leno calls me again. I was like, I got to go. So Jay's calling. So he goes, did you get it? I go, the photo? He goes, yeah. He goes, oh, I decided just to text it to you. So I'm pulling over. I look at and he has a photo. Now my car's a split window Beetle.
Right.
Pulls it. He takes a photo of it next to his split window Corvette, holding it with the thumbs up. And underneath, he puts a quote. It says, "Best automotive book out there, Jay Leno."
Wow.
Which is unbelievable. And he says, yeah, and that quote, you could use that wherever you want. You guys could put that around. We got to get the word out. So I'm like, wow. So that's just amazing.
Oh my God.
And then he says, oh, by the way, tell Richard tell Richard I like the radio show they do with Tom Cox and Richard Lentinello. I was like, you're a listener? He goes, yeah, I like it. It's great. It's great. It's great. So it's just surreal. So, I mean, it's getting better. I mean, it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
So now the plan is we're both going to be at the Audrain. My car is going to be at the Audrain and on display. It's the first time a 1944 KDF has been in a concours. So that's a great thing for that. And he's going to set him up he said he's going to set him up with some kind of stand or something to have the magazines there and, have Crankshaft out there. And I'll be there with my copy of it night in the trunk with it on the cover and standing around talking till I can't talk to anybody anymore. So my little horse just explaining what they're looking at because they never seen one before. It's funny. As a judge, people say, well, why do you judge? I go, well, they say, well, you don't get to see the cars. You're very busy all day just working on your class and you're doing that and you miss so much of the show. And I go, well, that's true. But I tell you, there's part of the judging that is such the reward is, first of all, taking care of the owners and making sure they understand, they're appreciated. But hearing the stories firsthand and hearing what they're talking about when they're going over a car and seeing the original documentation, maybe the old photos of when their father bought this 1920, whatever, and all that kind of stuff. They're sharing all this personal stuff with you that car geeks would just love to see.
Yeah.
But unless you're a judge, that's the gift you get back. And it's really amazing. And so now I have this old car that no one's ever seen.
Right.
And I get to be on the other side of it. I get to like return that to them. And it's so much fun. It's just, I can't tell you how much fun that is for me.
It had to make you a little bit more nervous. So I'm going to ask you two questions. It had to make you a little bit more nervous to be on the other side of it, right? Not being the judge, but being judged.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
Well, it's funny. So I'll tell you a little what happened when the car got judged. It was such a fog and it was such a crowd of people around it. The judges that came up, they were all, poker faced,
right?
And they're doing their thing. And I'm like, I'm talking to this one, I'm talking to that one, and it's just we're all over. And the judging was going on, and like they were trying to talk to me, and I didn't know that. And so, I mean, the car spoke for itself as far as condition and everything else. But so then, excuse me, we have a question. Oh, okay. What's that in the trunk? So I had these two pieces of old metal in the trunk. One was a bullet hole that we cut out of the car that was in the driver's rear quarter panel. And I says, oh, this is I picked him up. I showed him, this is the bullet hole. And we found this right over here on the driver's side. And I explained that. And the other thing is shrapnel damage that went right through the windshield post from the inside of the car out that was hammered back down. I says, here, let me show you the book. So I show him the book of what I started with. And he's just going like his eyes are just, look like Jackie Gleason when he opened his eyes up, And he was like, that's what you started with? He goes, yeah. And I'm flipping through the photos and I got original photo documents of how like special, all different parts, original old parts to show these are original. And so, I mean, he was just shaking his head. He says, okay, I've seen enough. Because, one of the reasons why I became a judge in the first place was because of my car. I said, I got this car. It's the first one in the United States. How does a judge judge a car they've never seen before? Right? Yeah. It's a legitimate question if you're thinking about it. So I go, what do judges look for in a restoration? What do they don't look for? So that's one of the reasons why I started judging. And I started doing it with the Antique Automobile Club, like I said, 19 years ago at Hershey. I'll never forget that experience. If anybody's ever thinking about being a judge, they should really just dive in and do that. Seriously. It's a lot of work. It's fussy. It's definitely intimidating. If you take it seriously, which you should, because we want to be fair to everybody. And like I'll tell you, that first experience, they take us out on a show field after the class, and they have a 1913 Mercer, right? It's all weathered. It looks like it just came out of a barn. And we're walking around this. And now these are professional judges that are teaching you all this stuff. And we're walking around it and they say, what do you see? What's wrong with this car? Now, this car had the treads coming through the tires. They didn't match. I mean, this thing was all weathered. But something about it was bothering me. And I couldn't tell what. And I'm walking around the whole car, because that's what they teach you to do. Walk around the whole car, take the whole thing in. And then I thought about something. I said, the back rear fender on a car is always the one that gets hit because you can't see anything. There's no mirrors or anything.
Right.
And that's just as evenly weathered as the rest of the car. And I'm looking at it and I'm saying, you know what? I think this has been patinaed.
Yeah.
So I say that to the judge. He goes, I say, I think the paint on here is somebody did this. And that's the first guy. You're the first guy that ever saw that ever said got that, because they love bringing that car out to other judges, apparently.
All right.
And he goes, I can't believe you got that. I said, well, being an artist with paint and thinking about things, looking at like back in those days, they painted the suspension, which is all steel, and they would pinstripe it. And I'm going, you know what? That's metal would have been more rusty than the body. And it was just little subtle things that I just took in and I got. And so I knew I was definitely cut out for this.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
and I'll never forget, they were so nice and so helpful and making you feel comfortable doing this. And, the best part is I can contribute, help with all this.
Well, I got to bring you back a little bit to my second question about this 1944 that you're restoring or that you've restored. Did you know that that was the specific vehicle that you were looking for to restore? I mean, how did you find it? Number one, you were looking for it specifically, number one. And then number two, I mean, why this one?
Okay, great question. Well, I had some pretty nice cars. And at one point, I had a 1943 Wagon Jeep, which is made by Volkswagen. People have seen them in the old World War II movies, but they might not know they were made by Volkswagen. So it was a military version of it. So I had gotten one. It was a turnkey car, and I got it. And I learned so much from that car.
Mm-hmm.
For instance, the life expectancy when they built that, 14 days.
Oh my gosh.
You can imagine.
Well, because right.
Yeah, like because it's a war. So the idea that they would use the least amount of metal and put corrugations in it to give it some strength, and because it's not going to last, doesn't worry if it leaks, all these kinds of things. So I found that stuff really fast, and I run into a bad time in my life, and all the cars had to go. Sold them one by one, and in the garage with the nicely painted floor, there was 8 tire prints, and the Wagon from 1943 was the last one to go out.
Oh.
And I was really upset about it and didn't know where things were going. And I could, Ginger, it's just like I could see it today. It was going out that garage and the owner was driving it out. And I said, one day I'm going to have a car 1,000 times better than this. I said it like I meant it. I knew it. And I didn't even know how I'm going to get gas the next day to get to work. But, sometimes you just say these things and it really makes a difference. And it's like a declaration or something.
It's that emotional aha that you can pinpoint back to a time in your life, the exact time, place, smell, that image of this is when I decided my life was going to change.
Absolutely. And it said to myself, I have no right saying that, but I just know that's going to happen. I don't know how. I don't know when. I don't know. Things got better. My life changed. Things went better. I met Barbara. She's just incredible. My wife is just unbelievable. She's not a car person. A car is something you put groceries in the trunk and you got to park, and it's a pain in the neck,
Yeah.
And she's just so supportive. I mean, she's amazing. So when I started looking around for a car again, I'm looking. I find this ad on the internet. Now, this is 2002, so I think I had America Online back then. The young guys wouldn't even know what we're talking about. The America Online.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm finding this ad on deep search. I'm just looking around because I'm curious. Find this ad, 1944 Volkswagen for sale. And it's in Europe. So I kind of find out where it is. I find that it's in England. Okay, let's call it. I don't know why. Let's call it. I call the number. And it turns out it's this guy, Richard Cotton. And I know his name and he knows my name. And he's got a great reputation. And I guess I have a great one here. So this was good. I'm like, okay, great. Not like some scammer or something.
Right.
He goes, where did you find his ad? I found it on the internet. The thing is years old. I sold that car. I couldn't do anything with it. I couldn't find any parts. I couldn't find anything with this. I was like, oh, okay, well, tried. Hey, but if you want, I could connect you with the new owner, because the guy I sold it to, because he hasn't done it with it either. He's got 1940s Beetles. He definitely knows what it is. And
yeah.
I don't know if he's stuck on it or what, but I could always connect you guys and find out. He's a quirky guy, but he's a very nice guy, very nice guy. Okay, wow, that'd be nice. Thank you. So that's what I do. So now I'm calling Mr. Miller, his name is. He's in North London. So we finally connect, because back then there was no cell phones. If I get home, get a time zone, we get connected, we call him. And he immediately starts to try to talk me out of it.
Oh, then you have to, right?
I'm like, okay. Well, I don't know. It really threw me for a loop. I'm like, oh, guess you don't know what you're getting yourself into here.
Right. Right.
This is not for the faint of heart. This is going to be the hardest thing you've ever done. And he's telling me all this stuff. And I'm like, okay, why are you telling me all this? Now, it was a little odd, but it was really cool
Yeah.
because what he was doing was he was really giving me a reality check. And he was being very honest and truthful. And he said, listen, he was telling me, oh, he wasn't trying to sell me anything. Really trying to get me to understand how difficult this was. And I did really appreciate it. I really did think about it. I called my friend in Germany, Simon Mitchell, who was amazing, a guy. He could find anything, and he's just the nicest guy. I've always had great things with him. So he said, oh, if you want to do this car, I'll help you with it. I know the car is a real one. It's not going to be easy, but I'll keep looking with you as long as it takes for everything. You can come over here. We can search around. I speak the language, this and that. That's a huge commitment from a friend. I mean, I'm expecting he's going to do that, what, 5 years or something, and then like, okay, I got to do other things, right?
Right.
No, he's like that. He's like that. He doesn't give up. So I know that about him. So then I go to Barbara, and I go, hey, Barbara, there's this car. It's in Europe. Everybody's had it, gave up on it, 10, 15-year period. Nobody could find anything for it. There's no parts around. Nobody can find any information. The information is like burned up from the war. Let's get it. I think we should get it. That's what she said. Wait a minute. You're not going to restore. I'm going to restore this thing. Do you know how long this is going to take me?
Yeah.
This is going to be like, this is really hard. No, I think we should get it. Very straight. Barbara's a business person. She's one of the people that have the most vision I've ever met.
Yeah.
Knows when things are right. She'll sit in the room listening and could figure everything out. She's like that. I don't know why she said that. Maybe it was something in my face. I don't know. But she said, let's do it. I called Mr. Miller up and I told him, I says, I do want to take this on. And I promised him that I would be the last guy, which is what he wanted.
Right.
He asked me, you got to promise me he's going to finish this thing. And that's what he wanted all along. He cared about the car. He didn't want to see this thing go bouncing around to a lot of people that thought they could do it and couldn't do it. He wanted to stop that.
Right.
So if we're going to go to anybody, it's got to go to somebody that's going to promise and really get it done.
Yeah.
And I had no idea how I was going to do it, but I knew I was going to do it. The car gets here October 10th, 2002. I'm so excited. I can't sleep. The whole week it's getting shipped over. It comes into the garage. It gets pulled in the garage.
Yeah.
Garage closes. Now it's quiet. Got all the lights on. And I'm looking at it and I'm completely scared. I'm completely thrilled. All at the same time. I don't know.
New baby.
I don't know how I'm going to do this. I go, oh my God, what did I do? And at the same time, this is incredible. I'm looking at history here.
Right.
I don't know how I'm going to do this, but I'll have to figure it out. And there's real no experts at that time here. I have to become the expert in a way. So I just proceeded to restore this car, and we found things, like I said before, all around the world. I went to Germany. We searched from day in the morning. We traveled 2-3 hours to a meet in Germany, get there in pitch dark flashlights, searching every single tent that had just motorcycle parts. No, we're going to search that too. Every little box, all the way to 10 o'clock at night. Then we would drive home back to my friend's house in Germany. We just did things like that until we found every single thing. And, eventually the internet was more helpful. And I was putting dollars sealed up in magazines and sending it to different countries because there was no PayPal.
Yeah. Oh,
Sometimes we didn't get any parts.
Yeah. The ultimate treasure hunt.
Yeah. And I don't know why I never stopped. I mean, the whole thing was exciting. I don't know. And listen, if I was to sit there and tell you it wasn't frustrating at times, I'd be lying. There was times where it was part I've been looking for 10 years comes in a box, and the box has a big hole in the side of it, and it's gone. And I lost $1,200. Now I got to start all over again.
Oh my
Things
God.
like that. It's a really crazy story. I don't know why we do these things as car folks.
Us car people do some really crazy stuff.
Yeah, it's a total passion thing.
It is. Yeah, it's a passion. It's an addiction. It's adrenaline. doing things that other people could never imagine doing.
Yeah. And, it's funny because I never lost the passion in it.
Yeah.
All those years, as long as it was take, I tell you what, this car taught me patience.
Oh,
That's one thing that came out of it. And I'll tell you another interesting thing. Because there was so little information that would come out, and you got to know people around the world that did become quite experts on these. There was things that we thought were the right way to do it for 10 years, and then we found out that was wrong. That was incorrect for 1944, February 1944. So me as a guy that always looks on the bright side of things, I can tell you the 22 years that it took to restore actually was an advantage because I would have, if I had taken 10 years, I would have made a bunch of things wrong on it.
yeah.
If I'd taken 15 years, I would have made some other things wrong with it. But we seriously got it right, which was really important. And people said to me, well, nobody's going to know. Nobody ever saw one before.
You'll know.
Oh, I'm going to know. We're restoring history. This is not about me.
Right.
This is about the car getting restored for history. This car's going to be here long after I'm here.
Yeah.
It's about making it right. We're preservationists, where we don't really own the cars. They're just,
right.
We're just taking care of them. And I'm just glad this car got taken care of the right way. And boy, I'm having fun now. Boy.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, this is an incredibly inspiring story. Wow. I haven't got a chance to, read all of the things, about this car, but sitting and talking to you, I mean, it's such an inspiration. There's so many lessons in this 22 years of, like you said, patience and inspiration and sticking with your passion and the ups and downs and never saying, never giving up and just finding a way to do things. I mean, there's so many inspirational messages in the story that you just told us. And, so let's talk a little bit about inspirations. I'm sure you've had inspirations throughout your life or people that have been great inspirations. Would you share with us a key mentor who's helped you to be successful and who's been the most influential person in your life?
I was fortunate enough to have many, actually. Some will teach you how not to do things, which is a really great lesson in itself, right? So you can really learn from that. Some ways, my father, who we didn't really get much. His father died when he was a kid, and I'm not sure if he really knew how to be a father, but he was always supportive. And there was a lot of things my father did that, to this day, he taught me that I shouldn't do.
Yeah.
To have a better life and can retire earlier and all that kind of stuff. But he was always very supportive of us. I was about 15 and my brother was about 11 or 11, 10. My father says to me, your brother wants to maybe be a mechanic one day. What's the simplest car I can get for him to fix up for me?
Yeah.
He's talking about a 10-year-old, 11-year-old kid. And he knows that I know cars because I'm a car geek.
Yeah.
Simplest? I don't know, probably a Volkswagen. It's okay, I'm going to get a Volkswagen. So what does he do? He goes out. Now, he's not a car guy at all. He doesn't know where he's going to find any of this stuff. Or he goes to a mechanic school. He does to talk to them. Long story short, he finds a 58 Volkswagen Beetle. It was actually convertible. Brings it home. It was like $100. Goes to the Volkswagen dealer, goes and buys a bunch of the books. And he says, what kind of tools would they need? He goes to a craftsman dealer and he buys a whole bunch of tools. He gives us these tools and he says, have a party. Go downstairs. He didn't ever hung out with us. Always like awkward. And he wasn't really interested, but he knew we could have fun. So like I say, he was very supportive of all that. And that's when my brother and I just were always together in that garage. Peter and I were never out of that garage. We worked out in the driveway in Queens. We didn't even have a room in the garage. So wintertime, didn't matter. We were outside. And we were just enjoying this all the time. And that's where we learned our craft. And my brother became one of the top 20 Mercedes mechanics in the United States at one point. Now he's working for the fire department, restoring and building hook and ladders and pumper trucks, and he just loves it, doing really good stuff. So I guess you could say my father in that way, because I learned that you got to be really supportive of kids and let them find their own ways and do things for them. So that was really good. Vinnie Mattis. Now, when I wanted to become a sign painter, I wanted to become a sign painter in the worst way. I went to a sign shop. I told them, I want you to hire me. I want to work here one day. I was a kid. Showed him my portfolio. Showed him all kinds of stuff. And by the way, my father drove me over there. And he said, okay, well, you got to get brushes. And, I like what you do, but you're not a sign painter. You need to learn the skill of sign painting. So he told me where to get the right kind of brushes because they're hard to find, told me what to do, and said, hey, listen, if you want to come here on Saturdays I have the bench open because I'm in the garage pinstriping cars all day. You can use that. You can use the bench.
Yeah.
Okay. So what did I do? We went down and got all the brushes and everything we needed. I would go to his shop on Saturdays. I'd be there as he opened, and Saturday, and I started taking my bicycle down there. I would practice. And he says, okay, what you can do is paint straight lines. I want you to paint 4-inch tall straight lines. We'll do that for 8 hours. Okay, I'd like to paint curves now. Nope, you got to do straight lines. You got to learn the brush control, right? When I go home, I'd be finding on garbage day, I'd be dragging home refrigerator doors, and I've been practicing on that. The garbage man must have loved this. Well, these people got so many refrigerator doors? So, I wanted it. It was a passion. And I kept practicing. And one day I said, I'm ready to start working with another guy. And I don't want to take that job. I'd rather work here. So I don't know. If once I do work for him, I'm not going to come here.
Yeah.
That's what I told him. I said, once I commit to him, I'm going to stay there. And he hired me. And eventually, in my sign career, down the road, this guy, Vinny Mattis, was just wonderful. He was the funniest guy. He reminded me of a tall Archie Bunker with a big cigar. And he was always like, rah, 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 rah.
Yeah.
And the cigar ash would fall in the paint when he was painting. He was fun, but he was always like annoyed.
Yeah.
Funny way though.
Yeah.
And I would ask him, can you teach me something? It was like he sounded annoyed at it, but he was like, he liked me. He took me under his wing, and I learned a lot. I became the main sign painter over there over the years.
Oh, that's amazing. That's amazing. What's next? What's next in your life? What's next on your bucket list?
Bucket list. That's an interesting one. Well, I want to share the car with everybody. I've learned a lot about these things. I learned about the significance of these things. I know that these KDF Beetles are the DNA of all of Volkswagen and all of Porsche. You like a Porsche 911 Turbo, you got this car to thank for it. That's how it started.
Yeah.
And people don't really understand them, so I want to show it to people. And I'm going to take it to a lot of places. Bucket list would be go it at Pebble Beach and drive on that highway. I have that in my mind. I know what it's like, but I don't know what it's like to drive it on that tour. And even a bigger bucket list thing would be to be actually a judge at Pebble Beach one day.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And that's a big one. That's a big one because that's really not an easy thing. I don't know if that'll ever happen, but you got to really pay your dues to do that. You got to be really, really skilled. I'm working towards that. You got to pay your dues. And I'm a believer that you can't jump the gun. You got to pay your dues. So something like that would be just amazing.
Let's go on the ultimate drive. I'm writing a blank check for this ultimate drive with no limitations. And again, now have fun with this question. If I could wave a magic wand and arrange for you to go on the ultimate drive, what vehicle would it be in and whom would it be with? And we may already have heard the answer to this, but we'll see.
The ultimate drive, not the ultimate car I could get, right? The ultimate drive.
Anything, the ultimate drive, any car, anywhere, anyone.
Okay.
Yeah.
So my ultimate drive would be with the KDF Wagon I have right now, driving that tour with my father, who didn't live I took care of him till he died, and driving on that tour and taking it to Pebble Beach.
Who would be driving?
I would be driving, just me and him. And it's funny if I can add something to that.
Yeah, absolutely.
My father and I, like I said, we didn't get along. But it goes to show you what cars do. I would take him in a car if we finished building a car, whatever it was, and we go and take a drive together. And we wouldn't say anything. And we just have smiles on our faces. And we both get it.
Sometimes less as well.
Yeah. It's like that's the time when both of us really understood each other, and I get it now, kind of thing. And that would have been really, really cool because I've had this car while he was alive. I was talking to him about it. He didn't understand what I was doing either. That'd be really neat if I could do that.
Well, he's looking down now and seeing what you've accomplished.
Yeah, I hope. I hope that'll be great.
We've talked a little bit about Crankshaft. Is there another book, an article, or something that you've watched that you believe others can learn from?
Yeah, I have. There's several. One of the books that I recommend is, well, I love Carl Ludwigson's because I'm a real Volkswagen Porsche guy, and I love that. That early history is what I just love the most. And any of his books are really great. One that's really interesting is The Battle for the Beetle. It's a really interesting story that, one of the most iconic cars. They made over 20 million of them, almost never happened. And it really explains that in the book and really gets into the details on it. And Carl Ludwigson, great. In fact, he was the first guy that understood my car. I talked to him in 2013. I spent some time talking to him about, I have a KDF Wagon. I'm restoring it. In the middle of our conversation, I had talked about 35 minutes. In the middle of the conversation, he stopped. He says, point to me with his finger. He says, I know what you're doing. And I went, whoa, what do you mean? He goes, I know how hard it is what you're trying to do. And I had chills. First time it took me all those years, 2002 to 2013, to finally get somebody to understand what I was doing. So that's a great book. And another book that most people probably haven't read it, The Integrity Advantage. It's by Adrian Gostick and Dana Telford. I got this years ago from somebody that gave it to me, and I completely got it from the beginning. Life is about having integrity. If you mess up, you own up to it. You tell the people you messed up. It's more about business, but it's a really life lesson book. It's not about us. It's never about us. And the faster you learn that lesson, it's about others. It's just that's the way everything comes back to you. I think I try to live that way, and that's probably why so many great things have come back to me. So.
Well, that's some wonderful words of wisdom and advice. Do you have a favorite quote or mantra that has meaning to you?
I do. You ready for this one? I thought this all up myself. Drum roll, please. Have fun. I know that sounds like too easy, but I found that anytime I'm having fun, I'm up to something. Anything you do, you got to have fun. If I had my first job putting cans up on a shelf in a supermarket, I'm going to have fun doing it. They're going to be all straight. I'm going to be saying hi to all the people. I'm going to be making people's days, having them smile back. You got to have fun.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. Well, finally, tell us the best way that our listeners can learn more about you.
Well, I'm on Facebook. The Facebook page is my name, Alexander Soultanis, Soultanis. I do a post every morning of a car.
I see them every morning.
Yeah. And people, it's funny. I go to car shows. I go to concours and car shows, and people saying, Alexander, I love your photos. And I'm like, really? Like, who are you? And I get so much of that.
Yeah.
It makes me feel good. Because at one point I was going to stop doing it. But then, you know what? People said, I drink my coffee in the morning. I look at the picture of the car you did. I never know what you're going to put up.
Yeah.
And I started with good morning every morning. Because guess what? Who doesn't like good morning?
Exactly.
By the way, I got to say this. My friend Mike Trembutella is the one that came up with good morning. He would say good morning all day long. He'd see you and he'd go to visit me after, and if he would pass you while barbecuing, good morning.
Good morning.
And that's where I got it from. So I just loved it, and I just use it every day.
Oh, there you go. Well, listeners, you can find links to everything that we've talked about here today at carsyeah.com on the Alexander Soultanis link on the notes page. Alexander, thank you for being so generous with your time and sharing your an incredible experience with our listeners. I'm so appreciative of it, and I've learned so much today, and I can't wait to learn more.
Thank you very much, and thank you, Ryan Pribble, for making my car what it is today.
On that note, until we talk again, I will see you down the road.
Thank you so much for joining us here today on Cars Yeah. Drive on over to carsyeah.com to find today's guest show notes and inspiring automotive fun. Download your free copy of Filler Up. It's an ebook filled with gorgeous photos of fuel filler fun, including quotes from our inspiring automotive enthusiasts. While you're on the website, sign up for weekly blogs and a whole lot more. Download your copy today, and Ginger will see you next time here on Cars Yeah!